The weapons that have been used by Ukraine and Russia is staggering. The artillery ranges from World War II era tanks to futuristic hypersonic missiles. But one of the most well-known and devastating of these is the legendary US-made HIMARS multi-launch rocket system, or MLRS. In the latter part of 2022 and 2023, the HIMARS system supplied to Ukraine by the US and others wreaked havoc on the Russian front lines and the territory just behind them. Indeed, the HIMARS was a crucial factor in Ukraine's successful counter-offensive, particularly in the Kharkiv Oblast, helping Ukraine to reclaim vast swathes of territory. But due to a combination of improved Russian countermeasures and increased difficulty in obtaining new HIMARS systems, its effectiveness waned. However, as they've done so many times before, Ukraine has devised an innovative solution. So let's dive into this latest Ukrainian innovation and see how it's keeping Ukraine from falling behind in the war. Faced with a shortage of weapons and Russian countermeasures, Ukraine has come up with a unique solution, developing its own medium-range attack drones that can do the HIMARS job just as effectively, and for a fraction of the price. The Lockheed Martin M142 HIMARS, which stands for High Mobility Artillery Rocket System, was developed in the late 1990s for the US Army. The launcher carries one pod with either 6 Guided Multiple Launch Rocket System or GMLRS rockets or one ATACMS missile, and is mounted on a standard US FMTV M1140 5-ton truck chassis. With a length of 23 feet, a weight of 35,800 pounds, a maximum speed of 53 miles per hour, a 290 horsepower engine, and an operational range of 300 miles, it offers an impressive combination of power and mobility that makes it ideal for shoot-and-scoot type operations, i.e. maneuvering into position, firing, and then quickly changing location. Now, given the constant surveillance from drones deployed on the front lines, staying too long in one position is an open invitation for a missile or drone strike. So that kind of rapid deployment capability is a crucial factor on the battlefield. However, where HIMARS has proven particularly valuable to Ukraine is in its ability to strike at medium ranges, between a few dozen and a few hundred miles away. HIMARS gave Ukraine the ability to strike Russia's near rear, devastating logistics, barracks, warehouses, command centers, artillery, air defense systems, and other high-value targets. In December 2023, influential Russian military blogger Mairut Khairulin wrote, "The first factor in Ukraine's success, the HIMARS, which have taken out our military warehouses of the closed zone. The whole second half of last year was labeled as a time of large fireworks at the front. Damage was significant. The Russian rear had to rebuild itself on the go." At least 39 HIMARS systems have been supplied to Ukraine, along with several thousand missiles. Throughout the latter part of 2022, all the way until mid-2024, Ukraine pounded Russian forces with these systems. During this time, the Russian Ministry of Defense typically reported that it shot down dozens of HIMARS rockets daily, with footage confirming successful strikes emerging almost as regularly. However, over time, both the usage and impact of Ukraine's HIMARS strikes have reduced substantially. By May 2023, CNN was reporting on how Russian electronic jamming was causing HIMARS to miss its targets. The system usually hits with extremely high precision, within 3 feet at a range of up to 93 miles. This loss of effectiveness is likely in part due to Russian engineers successfully reverse engineering the HIMARS to figure out how it works, and thus how to stop it. In October 2023, Russian media reported that fragments of a HIMARS MLRS rocket fell in the Budanovsky district of occupied Donetsk, with most of the electronics reportedly not damaged. 8 days later, Russian sources released footage claiming to show a destroyed Ukrainian HIMARS near Inhulets, only the second they had claimed to have hit. By this stage, HIMARS had already been in active use on the battlefield for 15 months. Footage of another reported HIMARS hit was released by Russian media. Footage of another time showing the strike occurring near Bulid by Russian media. Then from March to the end of 2024, Russia reports of damaged or destroyed HIMARS launches began surfacing much more regularly. Footage claimed to show hits on HIMARS systems in or near Koturanivka, Konstantinivka, Soria, Nikanorivka, Novolenivka, Krasny Liman, Velyokivka, Novolenivka again, Potatimla, Yasenove, Novopetrivka twice in a fortnight, Kramatorsk, Sumy, a double hit near Mauritius, Chernova Dubrova, Sumy again, Sadki, a triple strike near Livne, Sumy again, Chaposhnikowe, Andrivka, Klebundvik, Novosoleshine, a double strike near Muli-Bobrik, and a strike on a convoy of HIMARS launches near the village of Dubidov in Kherson on New Year's Eve. That's a total of at least 31 HIMARS systems they claim to have damaged or destroyed. Russian Defense Minister Andrei Belousov also claimed in December that Russian forces had shot down 1,629 HIMARS rocket shells during the year. By this day, the prestigious journal The Atlantic was reporting that HIMARS effectiveness had been reduced to just 10% thanks to Russian innovations in electronic warfare. Despite these claims, some HIMARS strikes were reportedly still making an impact heading into 2025. Most notably, the destruction of the Sudzha gas measurement station in Kursk Oblast in March. Russian propaganda also claimed HIMARS strikes on a school in the village of Bekdera in occupied Kherson, a supermarket in Donetsk city, and a convent in Nikolskoye, leaving several citizens dead or wounded. Nonetheless, the Russian Ministry of Defense's reporting of attempted HIMARS strikes slowed considerably during 2025, and by November was down to around 5 missiles every couple of days, compared to dozens daily a year earlier. Russian forces have released footage of a further 7 strikes on HIMARS launches during the year, in or near Kramatorsk, Chereshenki, Dova Balka, Nahirnivka, Zikove, Seredny Burlok, and Volodymyrivka. In return, Ukraine continues striking back with HIMARS, albeit clearly at a much reduced rate. On October 26, Ukrainian HIMARS rockets pounded and breached the Belgorod Reservoir Dam in the Belgorod region, flooding the countryside and inundating logistic routes used by Kremlin border troops. Now, it's not exactly clear why Ukraine has reduced its usage of HIMARS to such an extent. Officially, only 4 HIMARS systems have been damaged or destroyed, not the 40 or so that Russia claims. Indeed, there are more claimed hits than HIMARS systems that have been delivered to Ukraine, at least officially. Perhaps it's true that Russia has actually taken out most of Ukraine's HIMARS systems, leading to the dramatic drop in Ukraine's use of them. Perhaps, due to their decreasing efficiency, Ukraine isn't making use of them as extensively anymore. Or maybe, as a result of the significant slowdown in weapons deliveries to Ukraine from Western partners during 2025, Ukraine is simply being compelled to be a lot more circumspect about using the limited supply of HIMARS missiles remaining. In July, military expert Thomas Tyner told German paper Bild that the GMLRS ammunition for HIMARS multiple rocket launchers will last until September, but only with cautious use. Whatever the case may be, the reduction in HIMARS usage has left a hole in Ukraine's ability to repel the Russian invasion at mid to long distances, ranging from a few dozen to a few hundred miles from the front lines. Priority targets in that range are command posts, logistics hubs, electronic warfare and electronic intelligence assets, and air defense systems. Besides HIMARS, Ukraine doesn't have many other options that can hit a target at that distance with comparable precision and firepower. So, to fill the gap, the Ukrainians have drawn upon their world-renowned expertise in drone technology, technology to create a new class of mid-range strike drone technology. As the name suggests, this type of UAV sits somewhere between the short-range FPV drones that have become ubiquitous on the battlefield and the long-range drones that Ukraine has been successfully using to strike strategic targets deep inside Russia. As a representative of a major Ukrainian drone manufacturer told Ukrainian Defense Journal, Oboronka,
I Shrek Pakistan.
in Defense Journal, Oboronka, Russian forces in the strike zone are well camouflaged and dispersed. A mid-range strike drone allows us to hit them where they don't expect it and where they're concentrated. However, the development of this type of drone presents its own unique set of challenges compared to the other two types. Ukraine's long-range strike drones, such as the FP1 or the Lyuti, are guided to their target solely by GPS, while both FPV drones and mid-range drones require live connection. This connection is what enables the drone to stay in contact with the operator, be guided visually to the target, and confirm the strike. That means, to be effective in the harsh frontline conditions of eastern Ukraine, mid-range drones must be equipped with terminal guidance modules, additional forms of communication, and navigation systems. Ukraine has long since mastered communication technology with respect to short-range FPV drones. However, creating a communications channel for mid-range drones that can operate at ranges beyond 18 miles has proven to be far from straightforward. For example, the main threats to mid-range strike systems are Russian electronic warfare systems and interceptor drones. One of the most obvious tactics against interceptor drones is to fly at ultra-low altitudes, which provides significant protection against both drones and radar. But this requires more advanced communication systems than those used on FPV drones. On a technical level, this problem can be solved by fitting protective controlled reception pattern antennas, which ensure a stable connection, and using auxiliary equipment. This wasn't the case initially. Ukrainian mid-range drones were equipped with cheap communications, cameras, and GPS components, meaning more drones were needed to destroy a single target. Over time, due to the inefficiency of these cheaper components, developers have been compelled to integrate better components and multiple types of communication and control systems. But the process of testing different setups takes time. That's part of the reason why mid-range drones have only become a regular feature on, or rather just behind the front lines in 2025, after first being spotted in the field as early as 2023. According to Oboronka's sources, full-scale work on mid-range strike drones only began in earnest in autumn 2024. Up until then, the state had shown little interest in developing or procuring them. That's probably due to the greater success and availability of HIMARS at the time, coupled with prioritizing development of shorter and longer range drones instead. By the spring of 2025, however, the situation had changed dramatically. According to Vadim Sukharevsky, then commander of Ukraine's unmanned systems forces, over 400 mid-range drones were deployed by Ukraine in April and May alone. An officer with the alias Falco from the 14th Separate UAV Regiment of the Unmanned Systems Forces told Oboronka that mid-range strike UAVs are now a separate class of drones within the defense forces. And Brave One, a prominent Ukrainian defense tech cluster, has also reported high demand for this class of drone. During the year, an increasing variety of Ukrainian mid-range drones have been reported in the field. Presumably, Ukraine uses different mid-range strikers for different tasks, and their specifications vary accordingly. For example, strikes by Rubaka, which translates as slasher, or khaki drones have become a regular tormentor of the Russians in Crimea and Donbass. These UAVs can fly up to 125 miles and carry warheads weighing several pounds. DIU's Special Primary, or Phantoms unit, has used them to strike Russian radar systems, air defense systems, and even helicopters and aircraft. Other specialist mid-range Ukrainian strike drones in regular use are the Bulava or Mace and Ram 2X, which are used at ranges of up to 62 miles to destroy air defense and radar assets. They're fitted with terminal guidance systems, have high maneuverability, and carry relatively small payloads of up to 11 pounds. Arguably, the best known and most effective mid-range drone in Ukraine's arsenal to date is the FP2, made by Firepoint. A remake of the aforementioned longer-range FP1, it now flies 125 miles instead of 500, but makes up for the reduced range with a warhead packing up to 220 pounds, enough to destroy large or well-fortified targets. And it's already making a serious difference. On November 8, Russian channels reported the destruction of a $200 million S-400 Triumph SAM launch system near the village of Uyotnye in Crimea by an FP2 strike. 5 days later, FP2s were at it again, taking out a Russian facility for making Orion UAVs at the Kirovsky airfield in occupied Crimea. Earlier in November, Ukraine's main intelligence directorate, the HUR, shared footage of FP2 hits on a Russian fuel train near Dovzhansk and a logistics warehouse in Roskishnie, both up to 87 miles behind the front line. They also shared footage of an FP2 strike on a building in occupied Avdiivka, which reportedly eliminated many officers and UAV operators from the elite Russian Rubicon UAV unit. As noted earlier, this new class of drones required some serious innovation with regard to their communications systems. However, not all of Ukraine's mid-range drones have involved reinventing the wheel, so to speak. Long-range drones are also being converted to be able to conduct strikes at operational depth. Right now, there's a certain conversion of long-range to mid-range going on, one Ukrainian manufacturer told Oboronka. Communication systems and automatic terminal guidance are being added, fuel tanks are getting smaller, and the warhead is getting bigger. The OSINT Telegram channel Potuzny Informator, or Powerful Insider, which analyzes drone use on the front lines, reports that the remains of a large number of different drones are strewn across the Russian rear. These include the Ukrainian-produced propeller-driven UJ-26 Boba, or Beaver, the jet-powered Skyline 300, loitering munitions such as Peklo, Hell, and Bars, Leopard, and foreign-made drones such as Phoenix Ghost, Dagger, Disruptor, and Outlaw G2. Judging by reports from the field, Ukraine's new mid-range drones have already become an important element in the operation of Ukraine's unmanned systems forces, alongside reconnaissance drones, interceptors, EW/EP measures, and of course, Ukraine's short and long-range strike drones. Its new commander, Robert Magyar Brovdy, has been tasked with covering the front line on 3 levels: tactical, operational, and strategic. He aims to expand the kill zone, the area in which any movement of infantry or equipment risks imminent destruction. Depending on unit capabilities, this zone can be roughly 3 to 9 miles deep on each side. Beyond the kill zone stretches the grey zone, an area where movement doesn't guarantee instant destruction but still carries significant risk. It's here, in the grey zone, HIMARS territory, that mid-range strike systems are making their mark, acting as a surgical tool for hitting costly, high-priority Russian targets. As a